Welcome to Virtual Wisdom Finance and Accounting Tutorials. My name is Peter and I'll be your host in this particular tutorial. Today, I want us to look at network planning and analysis. Network planning and analysis is a topic in quantitative techniques or quantitative methods. It is also a topic in some subjects in project management, and therefore anyone taking a course in this area, this content will be of great use. For us to understand the whole concept, we are going to start by looking at the basic concepts in network planning and analysis. The concept number one is an activity. An activity is defined as a job of work or a task which consumes both time and resources. For example, if you're building a house, the whole process of building a house will require some resources. You'll need some blocks, you need some iron sheets, you need all that, and the cost of labor. Apart from that, you need time. You're supposed to build this house maybe for a period of 2 months. That duration, as you can see, it's an activity. It is taking some time and also it is consuming some resources. An activity, when you're drawing network diagrams, it's normally represented by an arrow. We use an arrow to represent an activity. The next term or concept is an event or a node. An event is a point in time which indicates the start or finish of an activity. Let's say, for instance, the activity here, at the beginning here, we normally have an event and we have another event here. So an event is supposed to show where an activity starts and where an activity ends. For example, if you're building a house, the point where you start building a house, that is an event. Then the whole process of building is the activity. Then once you're done with building, now we have another event or the end event when you finish building the house. Another term or concept is dummy activity. It is an activity, but it's a special type of an activity. This is an activity which does not consume time, nor does it consume resources. Remember, we have said an activity must consume time and it must consume some resources. So any activity that does not consume the two is referred to as a dummy activity. A dummy activity is normally represented with a dotted line, or a dotted arrow, not like an activity here which is represented with an arrow. This one is represented with a dotted arrow. That is an arrow that is not continuous. A dummy activity is normally used to show or to complete a network. At times you may have several activities that are related and you want to join them together to ensure that you follow the rules of drawing a network diagram. So to join the two or to join those activities, you may need to include an activity that does not consume resources, nor does it consume time. The time. I forgot to mention here that an event is denoted by a circle. It is denoted by a circle, and that is why I drew 2 circles here representing an event. Having understood that, it is time now we explain what a network is. Now, a network is simply a combination of the 3 items that we have mentioned. When you combine an event, an activity, and a dummy activity in form of a network, that is what we create a structure that we are calling a network. And this is an example of a network where this is an activity, this is an activity, this is an activity, another one there, and the circles represent the events or the node. And as you can see, for every activity there is an event at the beginning and event that is following. For every activity here there is also another event here For this one, there is another event here. So the simple definition that you can give to a network is that it is a combination of activities and events, including dummy activities. For us to be able to draw network diagrams, you need to understand some rules that govern the whole process of drawing network diagrams. And I'm going to look at the rules step by step, starting from the first rule to the last rule. Rule number 1, a network should only have one start point and one finish point. That is, a network should have one start event and one finish event. Let's look at the previous example here. As you can see, in this network here, there is one event here and there is one event here. There is one event where it starts and there is one event where it ends. That is how a network should always look like. One starting point and one finish point. Let's look at rule number 2. All activities must have at least one preceding event, that is the tail event, and at least one succeeding event, that is the head event. That is, for every activity, there must be an event at the tail and an event at the head. Back to the illustration, if you look at it, in this activity here, there is an event here, there is another one here. In this activity here, there is an event here, there is an event here. The same way to this, there is an event, there is an event. Every activity must have a preceding event and a succeeding event. Preceding event is the event that comes that comes before. That is the preceding event. Like for example, in this particular activity here, this is the preceding event. Then the event that comes after is the succeeding event for that particular case. We go to rule number 3. An activity can only start after its tail event has been reached. What do you mean by that? Again, we look at this. So for an activity to start, all the tail event must be reached. For example, if this event here is the start point of building a house, then we have the first activity of building a house, which is digging the foundation. Then we have the finish point where you're done with digging the foundation. Then we have another activity here, which is now laying the blocks. After you have done the foundation, you now start laying the blocks. What we are saying is laying of blocks can only start once digging or preparing the foundation is complete. And once this is complete, it's going to reach an event here. So once this event is complete, then you can start the next activity. That is the rule that we're explaining here. So we are simply saying, if for example it is this activity here, it can only start when this event is completed. We go to another rule. Rule number 4. An event is only complete after all activities leading to it are complete. So you only say that an event is complete. In this case, we are talking of an activity. We only say an activity is complete when all activities leading to it are complete. For example, this activity here is only complete when this one is complete and this one is complete. If it is this one here, it will only be completed once this is completed and this one is completed. All the activities coming before it must be completed for the activity to get completed. We go to rule number 5. Activities are identified by alphabetical or numerical codes. So we normally label activities as A, B, C, or you can use 1, 2, 3, or you can identify them by using tail event and succeeding events. That is preceding and succeeding events. Like here we have 1, 2, 2, 4, 3, 4, 1, 4. We are going to see how that is applied later on as we look at another diagram that will show how you use the preceding and succeeding events when you are naming or when you are identifying the activities in a network. Now in this particular case, for example, we can have this activity, call it activity A, call this activity B, call this activity C, or you can also use numerical values 1, 2, 3 to name those activities. That is what we mean by naming of the activities. Lastly, that is rule number 6. Loops and danglers. Loops and danglers are not allowed. A loop is a series of activities that are leading back to the same event. If you look at this, this is the starting event. Then it is proceeding with an activity to another event here. Then it is proceeding to another event here. But you see this arrow here is going backward. It's going backward. So when an arrow is going backward, that is what you're calling a loop. A loop. And loops are not allowed. It's not supposed to go backward. An arrow is supposed to face forward. An arrow is always supposed to face forward. And in this particular case, this arrow here is not supposed to face this direction, but is supposed to be facing forward. So when an arrow is going backward like this, that is an activity going back. That is what you're calling a loop, and it's not allowed when it comes to drawing of network. Then we have what we call danglers or dangling activities. And dangling activities are those activities which do not link to the overall project. If you look at this, in a network, remember we said it must start with one start point and have only one finish point. But if you look at this one here, there's 2 finish points, and that is why that is led by what we are calling a dangling activity here, that is getting outside the real structure of the network, and that is what is leading to 2 ends instead of 1 end. So danglers and loops are not allowed when it comes to drawing of networks. Those are the rules for drawing networks. And after we have understood the rules for drawing the networks, it's time now we look at the first example and see how you draw a network diagram. So in this illustration or in this example, you are given activities here, activity 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 4, all the way to 6, 7. And then you're told where 1 is the preceding event and 2 is the succeeding event. What that means is 1 here is an event that comes first. It is a preceding coming first. And then we have a succeeding event, the event that follows. You're seeing that? So when you come to drawing, that means 1 will come first and then it will be followed by 2. So we're going straight to drawing this network. I'll use this space here to draw the network. So we start with the first activity, which is activity 1. The first event, that is event 1. But here, what we are given here, these are the activities. Activity 1, 2. Activity 1, 2, meaning it is activity that is between event 1 and event 2. So we have event 1 and we have another event that we are calling event 2. So this activity comes in between there to lead us to event 2, as you can see like that. So with that, if you look at it, we have 1 is connected to 2, right? And again, 1 is connected to 3. So that tells you that when you're drawing your network, you need to draw it in a manner that it is able to occupy all the events as they are. So in this case, I'm going to draw it separately. Let me show you how to go about that. So we have the first activity 1, the first event 1 is connected to 2, and the same event is connected to 3. So that means I'm going to have it separated like this, right? So that I have 1 connected to 2, and again 1 is connected to 3. It is connected to 3. Then you proceed. So we are done with this and this. You go to the other one. 2 is connected to 4. 2 is connected to 4. So I can proceed like this. 2 is connected to 4. Then 2 is connected to 5. Then 3 is connected to 5. So if you look at that, let's start with this one. 3 is connected to 5, right? 3 is connected to 5. Then you're saying 2 again is connected to 5. There's no way you can join these 2 points here using an activity. Why? Because this activity here is not consuming any time or resources. So you're going to have a dummy activity. Later on, you're going to see clearly how dummy activities are applied in networks. Then you continue, we are done with 2 and 5. Then you go to 4 is connected to 5. So you can see 4 is connected to 5. And the same 4 is connected to 6, right? And 5 is connected to 6. So meaning 6 is somewhere here. Then it's connected, 5 connected to it, 4 is also connected to it. So we have 6 at that point there. Then we have 4, so 5 is connected to 6, we are done with this. 4 is also connected to 5. So to connect 4 to 5 again, we need a dummy activity because it doesn't consume any time, no resources. Then 6 is connected to 7. It's connected to 7 there. Connected to 7, and you're done with your network. That's a sample of the example or illustration of a network. So you find that the diagram will look like this. We have event 1 connected to 2, and it's also connected to 3. Then 2 is connected to 4. Then 3 is connected to 5. 2 is connected to 5 using a dummy. 4 is connected to 5. Then 5 to 6, 6 to 7, and the network is complete. If you look at that, we can check whether we have followed all the rules of drawing a network as it is required. We have one starting point, we have one finish point. Rule number 1 is done. Another thing you need to check is every activity has a preceding and a succeeding event. If you look at this, we have an event here, we have an event here. This is the activity. If you look at this one, there is an event, there is an event. This one, there is an event, there is an event. You look at that, that rule is also followed at. The other thing that we need to check, do we have any dangling activities? No, all of them are connected forward. They are all connected forward, and none of them is disconnected from the main network. The other thing you need to check, do we have any loops? No, because all my arrows are facing forward. There is no arrow that is going backward, and therefore it is done well. The other thing, look at how the activities are drawn. We have the dummy activities and we have the main activity. So my network is well done, and that means we have followed all the rules of drawing a network. Having looked at that, we have another key thing that we need to understand when it comes to network planning and analysis, and that is time analysis. Time analysis is very key. We are going to include time. Time here meaning the duration. We want to see how do you put in the days, the number of days taken to do or to perform a given activity in that particular network. And for us to understand time analysis, we need also to introduce some concepts. And the first concept is the critical path. Critical path is used to mean the shortest time in which the whole project can be completed. For example, if you're building the house, the shortest time it can take you to complete building that house, that is what you're calling the critical path. Then the other thing, or the other term that we need to look into, is the earliest start time, or what you're referring to as the forward pass. The earliest start time refers to the earliest possible time at which a succeeding activity can start. For example, if you're building a house, you start with the first activity, which is digging of the foundation. After digging the foundation, the next thing is laying the blocks. So we are saying, what is the earliest time that laying blocks can start? If digging foundation takes 10 days, then the earliest that you can start laying the blocks is after 10 days, and that is the EST. That is the earliest start time of the next activity, or what we're calling the succeeding activity. And that's why we normally use what we call forward pass, because it is an activity, a succeeding activity following, the activity that is coming next. Then we have LST, or what we call the latest start time, or what you're referring to as the backward pass. Now, a backward pass is the latest possible time with which a preceding activity can finish without increasing the project duration. And we normally get the LST moving backward. Then when you're getting the EST, we move forward. For example, in this particular case, what is the earliest time? What is the EST for activity E? The EST for activity E here is, if activity A takes 2 days and C takes 5 days, the earliest that E can start is after 5 plus 2, which is 7 days. If you're talking of F, the EST for F, which is the earliest time that F can start, is after B and D are complete, which is 5 plus 3, which is 8. That's what we mean by EST. Then LST is calculated moving backward. Then what you need to understand is, when you're calculating the EST, we pick the longest time. You're going to see that in our next illustration. Now, when you are representing the EST and the LST in a node or in an event, you need to represent them in this manner. The EST will appear on the left side, then we have the LST on the right side, then at the top here you have the event number. For example, in this case, the event number here, we have event A, for example, and we are saying the EST for A is we don't have any other preceding another event that is coming along that. So we have sorry, there's something you need to check here. So you're talking of event 1, not event A. That is event 1. Activity is A. So we are going to have this as a starting point. So this will be 0, 0, as you can see. So we are going to see how you calculate that as we move along in the next illustration. Okay, so let's look at a comprehensive illustration when it comes to network diagrams. And the illustration goes as follows. The following represents activities of a network. So you're given the activities here, and you're given the preceding activity. Preceding activities are the activities coming before, right? Then you're given the duration of these activities. So this is like saying activity A takes 4 days, activity B takes 7 days, activity C takes 5 days, etc., etc. Then required, draw a network diagram. That is the requirement number 1, to find the critical path. Okay, let's look at let's find, or let's draw this, get the solution for the illustration that we have just looked at here. We have illustration that we have just looked at here. So let's try drawing the network diagram. So we are saying, now in this particular case, we have been given activities, that is the activity A all the way to activity L. Then you're given the preceding activities, that is the activities coming before. Then you're given the duration for each and every activity. That means when we are drawing this network, we start with this activity we start with this activity followed by that activity, this activity followed by that, this one followed by that. That is how we're going to, because this represents the preceding activity, and then we have the activity that is following that particular case. So for us to draw that, anytime that you're drawing activities, remember we said activities must have a start event or a node event, and then they must have a succeeding or the head event. So let's start with the first event. So the first event, because this is the start point, you see activity A is preceded by another activity dash. Dash means what? It is activity 0 or the starting point. So the event there will be event 0. So we are going to have event 0 there. So again, remember we said events are represented like that. So we have event 0. So event 0, which is here, that is coming from activity 0. So activity 0 precedes activity A. It precedes activity A. So we can draw our activity A, and activity A takes 4 days. It takes 4 days. So we are done with that. Then activity A precedes activity B. It precedes activity B. It also precedes activity C and also precedes activity D. As you can see from that. That means from this event here, which is the first event there, we have A preceding B, it is preceding C, it is also preceding D. That means we are going to separate, we are going to have 3 activities coming from A. So we have the first activity here, which is activity B, and activity B is taking 7 days. We have another activity here, which we are calling activity C, which is taking 5 days, and we have another activity here, which we are calling activity D, and activity D is taking 6 days. That is what we have there. Activity B, we are done with that, we are done with that, and we are done with that. Then we continue. So we are saying we have labeled these as a node 0 or the starting point. Then we have node 1. Then we proceed. We are saying B precedes E. So from B we are moving to activity E. So that means we have to draw a node there. We have a node there. So this one now will be node 2. Then this is taking us to an activity E, and activity E is taking how many days? It is taking 2 days. We are done with that. Then C is preceding F. C is preceding F. So we have an event here, that is, we call it event number 3, and it is preceding F. This one is preceding F. So we can have something like that. So sorry for that, just slightly, you don't need to draw that fast. So we have this one is preceding C, is preceding F, and F is taking 3 days. F is taking 3 days. We are done with that. Then E is preceding G. E is preceding G. So that means we need to have a node here, which we are calling node number 4. Then it is preceding G. It is preceding G, and G is taking 5 days. You're done with this. Then you look at this. B and F are preceding H. So F here is preceding H, and also B is also preceding H. That means we are going to have a node here, so that we have this as our node 5. This will be node 5. Then this one here is preceding an activity which we are calling activity H, which is 11 days. So F is preceding H. Then B is also preceding H. And as you can see, we have already allocated the 11 days to H. That means there is no days to allocate to B to H. So as to ensure that we include it as it is stated here, that B, F are preceding H, we have to include an activity that does not consume time nor resources. So you have to connect B to H using what? A dummy activity, so that there be no time for this activity here. We continue, we are done with this. Then G and H are preceding I. G and H, these two are connected and they are preceding an activity we are calling I. So we have to draw a node there. Call these number, this will be now our node 6. Then these ones are preceding another activity that we are calling I, activity I, and activity I is taking 7 days. It's taking 7 days. We are done with that. So this is G and H are both of them connecting to I. Then C is connecting to J. C is connecting to J. That means you need to connect C here to J. You need to connect these to J. So call this J, and J is 4 days. So C is connected to J, 4 days. We are done with that. Then D is connected to K. D is connected to K, and that is 3 days. 3 days. So we have to connect that. So we need another event there. That will be event number 7, and it is connected to K. It is connected to K, and K is taking 3 days. We are done with that. Then I, J, and K, these three, I, J, and K, all of them are connected to, they are all connected. So this will be node 8, and they are all connected to L. They are connected to L. They are connected to L, and L is taking 4 days. L is taking 4 days. And like we said, in an event, in a network diagram, you don't leave it pending. You have to complete the diagram. You must have a starting event and a finish event. For every activity, there must be a preceding and a succeeding event. That is tail event and head event. So you need to come up with a head event here. So call it event number 9. And there we go. We have a complete diagram for all the items. We have a complete diagram with all the nodes, that is all the events and all the activities labeled, and therefore the resulting network is going to be like this. Is going to look like this. We have event, we have activity A connected to B, C, and D, B connected to E, E connected to G, G connected to I, which is connected to L, then C is connected to F, F connected to H, then C is also connected to J, connected to L, then we have A connected to D, which is connected to K, then to L, and lastly we have a dummy activity here between B and H, B and H, and I have labeled that and included the number of days. And as you can see, for this dummy activity here, there is no time, there is no duration. Remember we said a dummy activity does not consume time, nor does it consume any resources, and therefore it is left like that. The next thing that we need to look at is what we are calling the EST, EST. And like we said, EST is the earliest start time, the earliest start time. What is the earliest that the succeeding activity can start? For example, in this case, this is a starting point, so the EST will be here. Remember we say that the EST is recorded on the left side, so that will be 0. The EST here will simply be the number of days that the succeeding activity can start, and the succeeding activity here is B, C, and D. So B, C, and D can only start after A is complete, and A takes 4 days. Then you go to this direction, so the EST here will be the earliest that E can start, which is the earliest that E can start will be after A and B are complete, which is 7 plus 4, which is 11. You proceed on this one here. This will be the earliest that this one again can start, which is 11 plus 2, which is 13. You've seen that? So as you can see, when we are calculating the EST, we are adding. You add the days as you move forward. That is why it's called a forward pass. So you move forward. So at this particular point, just leave that first of all. I show you how you come about that. Then you come to this point here. What is the earliest that these two can start? That is F and J. The earliest they can start is after C and A are complete. That is after 9 days. Then the earliest that this one can the K can start here is after 6 plus 4, which is 10, which is 10. Then let's look at a scenario, a point here. So if you look at this, we have two arrows. We have this one here and we have this one here. So we need to check between these two, which duration are you going to pick? You pick the highest. You pick the highest because the highest, the number of days here, it simply indicates that that is the only duration that must be complete for H to start. And that duration we see here, we have 11 plus 0, which is 11, and here we have 9 plus 3, which is 12. So we go for the highest, which is 12. Then we go to this side again. We have two. We have this and this one here. So we need to pick again the highest. This is 12 plus 11, which is 23, and we have 5 plus 13, which is 18. So you have to go for 23. You go for the highest. Then again, coming downward here, we have 3. We have this one, we have this one, and we have this one. We have to pick the highest. 23 plus 7 is 30. Here we have 4 added to 9. That will be 13. Then this will be 13. So we go for the highest, which is 30. We go for 30. And of course, the last one here will be 30 plus 4, which will be 34. And that way, we are done with the EST. We are done with the EST. That is, we have completed using forward pass to get the EST. As you can see, here is the diagram, and this is how it is going to look like once it is completed. We have the EST here is 0, here is 4, 11, 13, 23, all the way to 34. Again, you can look at that and see how the figures are represented there. The next thing is the LST, and like we said, it is the latest start time, and we say to get the LST you use what we call backward pass. We start from the end, moving backwards. So to get the LST you have to start from this point. You start with 34, then for LST we minus. So 34 minus 4, it will take you to 30. Then unlike the EST where we pick the largest, for LST we go for the smallest. Number. So as you can see here, for example, so this one we only have one arrow, we have one tail here, so this will be 30 minus 7, that will be 23, right? Then here we have 30 minus 3, which will be 27. Then we have this one here, there is only one arrow, this is 23 minus 11, that will be 12. Then we have this one here, it would be 23 minus 5, that would be 18. Then we have this one here. Now for this case we have two arrows, we have this one here and we have this one here, where this is 18 minus 2, which is 16, and then this is 12 minus 0, which is 12. So you go for the smallest, so we're going to pick 12. We pick 12. Then in this case we have two, we have this one and this one here, so we have 12 minus 3, which is 9, and we have 30 minus 4, which is 26, so we go for 9. Then here we have three of them, we have this one, and this one. So again, this is 27 minus 6, which is 21. We have 9 minus 5, which is 4, and we have 12 minus 7, which is 5. So we have to go for the smallest, number, which is 4. Again, 4 less 4 is going to take you to 0, and we have it complete. That is how you get the LST, or the latest start time. And remember, the LST is written on the right side, of the event node. And your diagram is going to look at this. This is representing the LSTs, starting from 34, 23, 18, 12, 4, 0, and all the other items like that. This will be your LST network. After getting that, we need to combine the two so that we have now a complete network diagram, which was our requirement number 1. Draw a network. So when you ask to draw a network, you have to show the EST, the LST, the event number, that is the event node number. You have to show all the activities and their duration. As you can see, we have every event here is complete with the 3 items, the 3 numbers. That is the event node. We have the EST, we have the LST for each and every event. Then we have the activities here, and they have their duration, every activity indicated with its duration, and that will make up a network. And remember how we defined a network. It is a combination of activities, events, and dummy activities, and that is what I have in this diagram here. So we are done with part 1 of the question, which required us to draw a network diagram. After drawing the network diagram, we were asked to get the critical path. And remember, we said the critical path is the shortest time possible that will take you to complete the whole project. For example, if you're building a house, what is the shortest time that will take you to complete building that house? So that shortest time is what you're calling the critical path. And the easiest way, the formula I use to get the critical path, I pick the events where the ESTs equal the LSTs, and I check that network, I check the chain of activities and see whether it's going to add up. Remember, in this particular network, the earliest that we can complete our project is after 34 days. That is the earliest we can complete. But now the critical path, which activities are critical, which activities that will add up to give us 34 days. That is what we are talking, or we mean by the critical path. So let's start with that. So let's look at the event where both the EST and LST are equal. So we have this node here leading us to activity A. We move to this one, it is leading us to another event here where EST and LST are equal, so we go with that. Then we have this one is leading us here, it is also leading us on this side. So let's start with this side here. So we go to J and then we go to L. We go to L, right? We have that one there. So if you are to look at that, we have A, we have C, we have J, and then lastly we have L. So when you add their durations, that is 4 plus 5 plus 4 plus 4. When you add that, it will give you 17 days. And therefore this is not the critical path, because the duration, the earliest time we can complete this project is after 34 days. So we check again, we go with the next one. This one will be A, which is 4 days. We have this A, 4 days. Then we go to C, which is 5 days. That is C, 5 days. Then we go to F, which is 3 days. Remember, we are checking those events which the EST and LSTs are equal. Then we move upward here, H, which is 11. So we have H, 11 days. Then we go to I, which is 7 days. This is I, 7 days. And lastly, we have L, which is 4 days. L, which is 4 days. When you add that, it is going to give you 34. And 34 is the duration that will take us to complete the project. And therefore, that will give us the critical path. The critical path is therefore this one here, that is A, C, F, H, I, and L. That's how you represent the critical path. And also you need to show that they are adding up to 34 days. So this one will be our critical path. So these activities, once those activities are completed, then the entire project will be completed. That is how you draw network diagrams. I hope every concept that I've shared in this tutorial was useful to you, and anytime you're revising, you can refer to it at any given time. This was Virtual Wisdom Finance and Accounting Tutorials. I hope this information was of great use. It was useful on your end. If it was, kindly do me some favor by subscribing to this channel. Click on subscribe below there. That is the only favor that you can do me at this particular time. Let your subscription count so that next time when I check the subscription we have risen. Kindly appreciate the good work that I'm doing by subscribing to this channel. Subscribe to the channel. Also click on the bell icon so that you can be notified anytime that I add new videos. Most of these videos might be of help to you as a student or in any other field where you need these concepts and these contents. Also, like the videos, share with your friends, and leave a comment. The comments that you're going to leave there, I'm going to respond as soon as possible. If you have a question, you can also drop it here, and I'm going to look at it and respond within a short period of time. Thank you for your time. Thank you once more. My name is Peter, and I was your host in Finance and Accounting Tutorials. Bye.